So we're just going to be discussing how 4.4 and Clay can work together to create, well, automatically create content for
Mm,
different firmographics, and
mm,
that content based on the uh, needs of the person, the job, and the business, not personalized content based on what they've posted on LinkedIn and you know stuff on the
scraping
web.
the website. Yeah,
Exactly, which is highly irrelevant. So actually, when we talk about relevancy, people want to know, especially in a B2B context, what's relevant to me and my job and my
yeah.
business, and what do you know that I don't, and what can you tell me? So we'll start with 4.4, Chris.
Mm,
Talk through how we gather that information and process it.
sure. Yeah, the contribution 4.4 is making to this clay flow, which we'll have a look at, is stuff that those people have actually said to you, the way they have articulated the difficulties and challenges they're having in their job, and so on. So that's what we're gonna contribute. But let's take a bit of a step back and look at how 4.4's internal flow works, and then we'll show how it's going to go into Clay and add value there. So 4.4 can be connected to a wide variety of different recording solutions out in the world. And people will be familiar with things like Gong and Jiminy and Outreach, and how those things have been recording conversations at your organization for probably a long time. But that data is quite difficult to work with, and their APIs are all very different. But 4.4 consolidates that. We're an aggregator for that information. That's where we start. Next, we have a connection to your CRM system, whether that's Salesforce or HubSpot. And now what we're doing is we're connecting those conversations and what we do with those conversations to that CRM data. So we're using the same firmographics that you're interested in manipulating in Clay. We've also got those connections as well. So we're working on the same, the same sort of filters. Slightly less relevant, but is useful to know. We also, depending on what kind of outreach you're trying to do through Clay, is that we can also import from service management systems like Service Cloud, Zendesk, and Intercom. But for the purpose of this, we're going to be talking more about B2B outreach, cold outreach, and those kinds of things, where you're just trying to make a point about the value that you can provide. So that's where we get our data from. You can see all the conversations in the system here. But what we do with those conversations, which possibly people watching this video may not be aware of, is that we extract and manipulate statements made in these conversations, and we form them rather than reading a transcript. If you've ever read a conversation transcript, it's all full of a load of unusable nonsense, all fluff, ums and ers, and people talking about how they can't turn the camera on. And we extract actual useful information. Ultimately, what we're going to do with this, and we're going to jump to that in Clay, is how we take these statements and feed them into an LLM so it generates those LinkedIn posts, those emails, and so on. But it's a problem of nonsense in and nonsense out. Like if you're actually putting a lot of nonsense in, then you're not going to get a good output. So what we do is, yeah.
Can I just add, just on this, in terms of the methodologies we use to extract the insights, we're using the jobs to be done methodology from a product perspective, and we are using all the customer-centric selling methodologies that focus on pain, impact statements, discovering customer needs, basically. I just wanted to add that to the...
Sure, like Spiced and Spin and Medic and those kinds of things. So, and you'll see that actually in our insight types that we, for example, have pain and impact statements, and we've sort of separated that out. When someone says, I have a problem with this in my role, pain statement, or is what our business is trying to achieve, impact statement. Now, there's lots of different kinds of things in here, but we have those. And that's actually what we're going to start with, these sort of pain and impact statements. This is what I want to be able to feed in Clay to form a piece of content that starts with the pain, because that's kind of 101. Start with what the pain is and then how we can help pain and an impact. So separating those out is really important. And then down here, we've got all those other kinds of CRM fields. So if you've got us connected to Salesforce, you can use any Salesforce feed on accounts, opportunities, leads in here to filter the people that have said these statements by things like their persona role, their persona domain. So for example, let's say we were going to do outreach to product people, product executives, and that sort of thing. So you can filter by all of these different kinds of things. We are going to use the persona domain. We're going to imagine that we want to do a cold outreach campaign. We're going to do a LinkedIn campaign as well to people in product domain, so product people, and it's cold outreach. So we're going to do that kind of pain impact sort of push to them. So once you've got your group of insights, what you do in 4.4 is create a topic set, and here's one I created earlier for my product cohort, pain and impact statements. And something that 4.4 does, which you can also use, is we pull out the topics that this cohort has been talking about. If you have a lot of insights, thousands of insights, and many of our customers do, tens of thousands of insights, you could pick a whole cohort to feed into Clay, but that could be an awful lot of data. Clay actually can only consider a small number of insights at once. So you might decide to do a really focused campaign on feedback analysis, let's say for product people, rather than some of the other topics. But we're going to take the whole group of 485 insights. But this is just sort of designed to show how, as we gather insights, they fit into the topic. And the second thing that happens is that as we gather more insights day after day after day, they feed into here as well. So they would be automatically then pushed into Clay. Right, now let's do the Clay bit. So we've got our topic set here, which is a group of insights that we want to use in Clay. And I'm going to flip over to Clay and show a Clay workbook. Now 4.4 is available as a data source in Clay using their HTTP API, which means that we can not only get data into Clay very straightforwardly, but we can refresh it really efficiently. So every few days, depending on the volume of conversations you're having, you can pull more and more insights in. And as you're having those conversations as a business, you're getting more and more insights and more specific firmographic sets. So my cohort that I'm interested in reaching is product people. This is going to be the products, pain impact cohort. I've written a test ID in here, just a little string, because what I'm going to use is that test ID when I give my, let's say my cold outreach email to an email system, I'll tag it with the test ID. And so if I'm doing ABC testing, which I almost certainly am, I can go back and say which insight statements, which pain statements, impact statements actually had the best open rates, the best feedback. And then from here in Clay, let's have a look at how that column is put together. It's an HTTP API column. And the endpoint is one of our API endpoints for this topic model. And this topic model ID comes from this topic model ID. So just by putting in that, you don't need any other complicated stuff in here. Clay will pull in the insights into the system. And here they are. So it's pulled in 200, first 200 insights. You can pull in as many as you want into Clay. And as you can see here, you get a piece of text and you get the type, whether that's pain, impact, impact statements. So what we can then do is divide those up into Clay into two columns of pain statements. There we go. And impact statements. There we are. And the important thing to know about these this column of pain statements, which is basically as much as will fit in that cell, and the impact statements, is they're an extremely densely compacted, no nonsense, no fluff, set of really high signal to noise information that we can feed into the LLM. They're really highly compressed. There's a huge amount of information in just one cell. And then we can do some interesting things with Clay's AI, is that we can do something like write a cold outreach email based on those pain and impact statements. And I've got the context down here about writing B2B SaaS outreach, helping you with task. Here's a list of pain statements. There's the pain statements. Here's a list of impact statements. Here's the impact statements. And I've given a bit of a description of our business or product as well, but so that's good context for it when it's writing this kind of content. And the kind of prompt, and this is a really simple prompt. You'd write a much more complicated prompt if you were really doing this kind of outreach. So I just wanted to go all the way back to the beginning and just sort of show that we picked a somewhat broad persona, but you can go so detailed because we've got access to those same CRM filters. Mm-hmm. So if you're a larger organization or you're writing really specific campaigns, then you can get insights relevant to that. So as you're putting those in Clay, each one of your blocks of content that you're sending out now, and you can do, of course, as many of these as you like, they're highly personalized, but in that way, it's not personal personalization, like, congratulations on getting married. It's personalized to their job and the pain that other people like them are having in their world.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Good stuff, Chris. Thanks.
No problem.